Yeah, and you have to go through a process to even get to that point.
Yeah.
You know, body-wise. So you have to go on this really strict diet for, is it months maybe,
Yeah.
before
I was
you
curious
can-
how she got to that point, but she has a therapist anyway.
Mhm.
So I think that's how she got to, but hers was almost life-threatening. because of-
So do you bill private insurance for that gastric bypass?
She's on
evaluation?
Medicaid.
I was gonna say, some doctors probably do think that it is necessary for some people.
Medicaid paid for hers.
It's considered medically necessary.
Right.
Yeah.
But I personally don't know of anyone that we've had come in there for counseling for
Okay.
that.
Okay.
But I do know that, like I said, our other counselor had to. But yeah, if it's a medical
Yeah.
necessity, I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah, Fellowship House does gambling now, but they've only had like 6 patients in like 4 years.
Yeah. Do you guys do family and marriage and family counseling?
We do.
Do you have clients that come in to do that?
Yes. And I've had a couple. I do not like to do it because you can't get two people. If they've got problems and you put them in the same room together with one person trying to be a
Mediator?
yeah, it just, it just doesn't work.
So do they not want to have a better marriage? Is that why?
Usually one will and one won't.
Okay.
That's what I see.
What happened in my case was the counselor, every time the counselor agreed with me, she hated him because, well, he likes you, he doesn't like me, so we went
Play
to a different
favorites,
one.
yeah.
Right.
And that person liked her, didn't like me, so, it's never anything we've done, it's the counselor's fault. Well,
Right.
that one likes you, so we gotta go to a different one, so you might go shop until you find 10 of them, and then you're like, everybody has a reason why
Okay.
Now-
not to do it, but no reasons to do it.
We've done it. I've done it a couple of times, but not me and the couple.
Oh,
Like I'll have
Individuals.
one of my clients, like I had the male one time as a client, and then one of the other counselors had his wife as a client for anxiety, whatever. Some people just need to go and vent, and so they wanted to get together and have a session together. So the 4 of us got together, and of course, then they expect, she's going to expect me to know more about him and to be more favorable to him because he's my client.
Mhm.
Same as with her. So they each one have an ally on their side.
A lawyer.
Because, yeah, kind of. And some of the things that were coming out in there, and I'm like, I just wanted to say, you guys need to get a divorce. Really. I had a couple come in one time, and they each wanted services, but the lady up front did not know that. So she gave them one packet, and they sat there and filled it out. And they came back to my office, and I'm trying to do the assessment, and I have a name, but it's got 6 names in it. It's like Sue, Ann, Johnson, Billy, Bob, Thornton. And I'm like, is this your name? And she's like, well, the first one. The whole packet was like that. Her information and then his information, all on the same paperwork, all on the same lines. They did nothing but fight. I couldn't get anything out of him because if I asked her a question and she told me, he would dispute it. And she's thinking about selling her house, moving in with him, and then them getting married.
Oh, yeah.
An hour later, I put my pen down and I said, right now I'm going to tell you 2 something. You do not need you don't need to sell your house. Please don't sell your house yet. I said, if this is how you act out in public, and I can imagine what goes on behind closed doors. That was the most chaotic session I've ever had in my life, and I never did get it straightened out, and finally I said, they need to be separated with separate counselors.
Some people don't need to be together.
No. They're
And
toxic.
it makes you wonder what keeps them together to that point, and how it's so hard to realize that we don't get along.
Security. That's what they've known. That's what they know. That's why women don't leave domestic violence situations.
Because if I'm focused on the craziness that you're doing, it allows me to avoid the craziness that I'm doing. So I'd rather have you be a hurricane in my life, because if you were to leave, I'd only have to focus on me, and I don't want to deal with me. That's my own theory anyway.
Well,
And that's a
you're
good one,
probably right,
yeah.
that's really a good one. But in my case, since it is just me now, I probably never could have quit using drugs if I was still married, because it was too easy to find somebody else to blame it on.
Mm-hmm.
But once it was just me,
Yeah.
we had been divorced since 2010. I quit using by 13. It only took 3 years from the divorce to figure out
It
how
wasn't
much
her.
of this was me and how little of it was her, but how convenient it was to blame her. She's the reason. And you can find counselors, after 7 rehabs, I found counselors that would, yeah, it's your wife's fault. Yeah, it's your parents' fault. My parents aren't even alive anymore. How can it be their fault? Well, things they did to you in the past. I had great parents. I had Ward June Cleaver. I mean, we
And
drove the same
regardless,
car.
Doesn't matter.
We have choices.
I know,
That's right.
but
Yeah.
it just took the divorce to finally figure out I was by myself. Then I was able to figure out how big of a part I had in this and how little of a part anyone else did.
Before I ever became a counselor, my daughter was like, I don't know, 16 or 17. She went through a spell of drinking. And her boyfriend had broken up with her, which I didn't like him anyway. I was really glad. But she went out and she felt the need to drink.
Yeah.
And so the next morning, she's, of course, I'm addressing this, and I'm like, that was unacceptable behavior. Well, it was Seth's fault. It's his fault. He broke up there. I said, was he there? No. Then how is it his fault that you're in the shape you're in today? And this was before I became a counselor. And I just pulled that out of the air somewhere. I don't even know where it came from, but I was like, it's not his fault that you got drunk last night. It's your fault that you got drunk.
It's easy to blame our choices on what other people do.
Mm-hmm.
It gives us a sense of not blaming ourselves.
Right. Because it's like you said, it's way too easy. If there's somebody else in the picture, it's way too easy to blame somebody else.
Yeah. We got to wrap up, but
Okay.
if you wouldn't mind, I drew this. I didn't even know you were coming, but does that kind of like describe the structure of your agency? You have the board of directors, I'm assuming.
Right.
And you've got a boss or CEO or whatever they might call her.
She's a
I'll take a picture of that. I'm getting smart
What's she
enough to know I
called?
can take a picture of it.
executive director.
Okay, AD.
Yeah.
All right. And then underneath her, you got multiple directors and maybe an HR department.
We do, and we have clinical.
Clinical director, and then underneath the clinical director, you have the supervisors.
Well, no, underneath the clinical director,
Okay.
she's actually a supervisor, director supervisor.
Oh, okay.
Then the counselors come under her.
Okay, so you've eliminated one of those supervisory
Right.
levels, middle manager.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Which really, we need one because there's so much work, there's so many clients, and it's so hard to keep up with all of them. And they tell me, we're gonna have to cut your clients back. I'm like, no, you can't. But you do too much. And I do. If they need something and they don't have access to it, I'm like, okay, I'll be there.
How many clients do you have?
Well, I did have like 40 something, but a lot of them aren't active. A lot of them just come in once a month for
Yeah.
just to see the doctor. But on average, you're going to have around 30 is what you should have it, and nobody there has less than 40 or 50.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
The only thing more overcrowded than mental and drug abuse centers are jails.
Yeah.
You never see a church with an overcrowding issue. So
We've seen a lot of people, meth is bringing out
meth
psychosis.
is coming back again. That was my last drug of choice was meth, and I went from crack to meth.
It's bringing
Because
out
meth is better.
psychosis.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, I say it's bringing out,
Or it's
it's
causing.
drug induced.
Oh, okay.
Because we'll go to the jail and we'll have, they'll have a guy over there, they'll call us and they'll be like, yeah, he's out of his mind. He's like throwing his up against the wall and he's hollering and screaming and he's talking to the devil in there and telling him. And I said, and what do you want me to do with him right now? Well, I don't know. I said, when he calms down, call me and I'll come over there and talk to him. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be after the drugs get out of his system.
Sobers up.
It's the meth, and it's just making people absolutely crazy.
I was the opposite. Meth made me turn into the little cricket in the corner.
Then you have ADHD.
I know. Sometimes during class, I'm focusing on the butterfly out the window or the duck in the picture that's been there my entire life and I never saw it. But yeah,
Yeah, because
I
a
was
lot
the
of people
opposite.
who have ADHD self-medicate with meth.
yeah.
Or stimulants in general, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. There's right. That's the wrong thing.
Crack and meth were my favorites.
It's
Yeah.
a very nice
Acid, I just stand in the corner and giggle and watch a movie or something.
You know,
It's a way to calm me
I
down.
don't like to admit it, but I'm